Legends aren't made looking up at the bull. Legends are etched when they look past the obvious and see the unique. Legends are built when hanging on to the bull is just the beginning. The child who can be an explorer and a scientist and an architect, all in a single day.
Life's full of no's. No midnight snacking, no returns.
Oh, man.
No, 2020 isn't over yet. But at Native, we use no a little differently. We use it to make things better.
Okay, so Michelle, thanks for coming on today. Great to have you here. I'm super excited for today's episode because you are somebody that is very, very inspirational to me. We met recently. You blew me away in our first meeting, and I was like, I got to have you on. I got to bring you in, and we got to share your story for others. So, Michelle, can you give us a little brief kind of origin story, since we're going with the superhero theme? You know, who are you? And really, that very fitting. But you may have to, as you give your introduction, you may have to move up to build some tension.
So yeah. I know that's a lot of pressure.
The grand unveiling of what you are. So yeah, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Actually, I started as an actor, and that was all by accident. Everything has been by accident. I had I was working as a secretary at a really boring insurance job that I hated. I didn't hate it. It just wasn't me, obviously. And they had a troupe, like a comedy troupe coming in for for somebody's retirement party. And I guess one of the actors fell sick that day, and they called the human resource department and said, hey, one of our actors is sick. Do you have anybody in your company that's funny? Like, literally never did an acting job in my life. And
really?
She nominated me. Clearly I stood out in the insurance realm. And she nominated me, and I was terrified to I was like, what are you talking about? Like, performing in front of all my coworkers, all these like higher up like CEOs and stuff. I was like, what? So anyway, long story short, they were like, oh, you're just going to like help out with the skit. You're going to be like a makeup artist. It's not a big deal. You're just going to be like powder puff and it's super easy. So I don't even know how I had the courage to do it, but I did it. And that day, one of the heads of the company had subbed in for someone else that was out that day. So like all these things aligned, and he was like, hey, you were hilarious. Again, I still don't know how I did it. You were hilarious. And, would you consider being in our public shows? They needed an understudy for one of their public shows, and it was like, dinner theater, murder mysteries and stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a secretary. Like, what? And anyway, I went, like, that's like the trajectory. Then I went and I watched one of the shows. Then I ended up understudying for one of the people. And then she left and she went to New York to do like Bigger and Better. And I became her character. And then the people I worked with were like amazing. Like, they're all amazing improvisers and amazing actors and actresses. And I got like a master class on how to do improv, like literally like fly by the seat of your pants right into it. And then started doing that. And then I ended up doing that every weekend, like every Friday, Saturday over the last 25 years in various different characters, like every character you can imagine, from like a crazy rich woman with a poodle to like a nun to like a homeless lady to like literally like to a Jersey mom who's like got the accent, like literally every character, to a French maid, to like literally everything. And so that was like a master class of just years and years of like, you can't leave. It's improv, it's interactive murder mystery. People come in, there's a premise, like for instance, the mob show, people are coming in and they're at this party for like, somebody's going to become a made man or whatever. And there's a murder that happens, but you have to be in this realm of reality of like, these people, even though they don't know, they're coming into this party and they're part of the mob family. You hug them and you talk to them like they're your best friend. And like most of the time they play along and they become your best friend. And it just was such a joyous thing to like, I had people, we used to do shows on the Boston Harbor boat shows too, that would go out for like a 3-hour boat ride and come back and they have dinner and the murder happens. It's like so much fun. And they would
elaborate.
What?
I said that's elaborate. No.
Yeah, it was crazy. But people would come up to me afterwards. I can remember multiple situations, but one of them in particular, this woman found my name after, wrote me an email, and she said that her like they were like three of her friends were going out for like a bachelorette kind of thing. And one of them had said she had just survived cancer. The other one had just had her husband die. And the other one, like there was like three crazy traumatic things that happened. And she's like, I just wanted to reach out and let you know that you made the night for three women that really needed that release and that whatever. And like that you were like such a joy, and I was just like I don't deserve that. Like that was, and I'm actually still friends with her to this day on Facebook, but I would get notes like that. And people at the end want to take your picture and they're like, oh, you made our anniversary or our birthday or just, and you made them feel special. I was really good at trying to remember names, like finding, like when they'd come on the boat and they'd say their name or whatever, somehow I'd be like, okay, I'm going to remember her this way. And then later on, when you were like, Carol or whatever your name is, they would, it just, you could see their eyes light up. Like she remembered me, right? She made me feel special. And
that's a superpower in itself. Remembering names is something I struggle with. It's like,
it's hard. Yeah. I would do like name associations, like red hair, Randy, or like something like, yeah. But
do you ever, I know there's different strategies for memorizing names. Do you ever think of actors or actresses that people look like in order to associate with them with someone?
Sometimes. I mean, there's a million different ways. I'm not super great at it, but I got like better at it. And I didn't remember everybody's name, but like certain people, like I'd pick out, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna, yeah. And then I would remember them. And then when I would say it later on, again, the amount of joy that put on their face was like ridiculous. So it was worth it when you could do it. Yeah.
That's interesting, because it sounds like, really, to be honest, up until that point, everything kind of happened in the correct sequence that really was kind of outside of your control, and just things started happening from being at the insurance company. I mean, what are the odds that something like that would happen? Which I meant to ask you, do you have that? Is that skit? Does that exist anywhere? Is it out there?
The sketch that I helped with? Oh God, no. It was for like some guys, it wasn't retaped. It was like a retirement, like live interactive thing for somebody's retirement party. But yeah, I'll always think that's the weirdest thing that she like volunteered me. Like, why? I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I didn't do anything to like push these things to happen. They kind of just happened naturally, organically, and I followed them, and yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know you mentioned earlier, can we bring in some props? Because I know there's been some awards that have been given, and can we bring those in?
I'm trying to keep really, really like every time I'm like, oh, I have this award, God's like, you need to keep humble. I'll have a bad week where I'm like, I'm awful. I suck at this, But so that's why I will never have them on a shelf behind me. But yes,
really,
yeah. So actually, let me show you the tiny one. So my first award, this was actually really dorky, but really adorable. There's this thing called NEBO. Yeah, it's called NEBO, NEABO. It's like New England Best of. And it was like our little New England, Boston area, like award ceremony. And I won for best voice demo in 2015. And I got this little statue. But the funny thing was I got to actually go on stage and do, which I haven't been able to do for any of the other stuff. I got to go on stage and like do a thank you speech. So it was just like being at the Academy. It was so cute. It's like,
look, that's awesome. You are, NEABO. Okay.
This was the first little guy.
Look, I don't have any. That's bigger than all the ones I have.
Telly. So this is a telly, which was for a commercial that I did with a client I've worked with for years. So that's pretty cool. Yep, my name's on it, Michelle.
Oh yeah.
And then the biggest one, what?
2016.
Yes. And then the biggest one, which was on my bucket list, was this. Well, I got a credit for an Emmy the year before, but I never got the statue because they didn't put my name on the creative. And then this year, the client put my name on the creative. Mm-hmm. And then they were up for like 3. So I was nominated for 2. And then we watched the awards online because it was virtual. And my husband and I were dressed like black tie up to the waist. And then we were in pajamas for the waist down. I have a picture. I can send you the picture that it's pretty funny. That's awesome. You could put in the thing. And then so the first one we didn't win. And I was like, I really want the statue, even though it's stupid. I want the statue. And then the second one they won, and they announced it, and they actually said my name. They're like, and the Emmy goes to, and they mentioned Gary, Josh, Michelle Falanga. And I was like, like that was that moment thing. And then the Emmy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ain't
Look at
she
that.
beautiful?
Woo. It's shiny. You should have warned me so I could put my sunglasses
I
on.
know, right? So this was like a bucket list thing, but I will never have
That's
it behind
awesome.
me, because like subtly behind me, because I need to, yeah, I'm still just silly little Michelle. So
You're better than I. I have those things with a shrine around those behind me.
maybe one day. I don't even have a shelf, so there's nowhere to put it. So that's maybe on purpose. I mean, I actually just did one for a client that's like a kind of like a makeup brand, and it's much more like smiley. It's hard for me. Like I'm in the booth and I'm like, because you have to really smile to be that energetic, and it's like, hi, and it's like that. Oh, it's just, I don't connect to that kind of script, but I have clients that choose me for that, which I'm kind of like, why? Because I feel like there's so many people that can do that beautifully, and I'm not the best at it. I do more of the you know, the like the Nike kind of style, like the person pushing through stuff and kind of running, like I do a lot. I was looking through, I was like, I could do a whole sampler on running. I have a lot of running women, a lot of spots where women are running, like trying to push through. Like, I was like, wow, that's kind of a theme for me.
Huh.
I actually
Totally.
did a cool spot for this girl. I think she's like I don't know if she's Olympic, but she's in the Netherlands. She's kind of a big deal. She's like a badminton champion or something. And I did a video. I guess she had like a recovery, or she was injured or something, and then she had a recovery, and I'm not sure of her whole story, but I did a video on her called Stronger, and it was about her pushing through that with that injury or whatever, and coming back out ahead again. And long story short, it's a beautiful video. I actually put it recently for Women's International Women's Day. I put it up on LinkedIn because I have like a collage of different, like strong women it's a strong woman sampler or whatever. And there's a lot of beautiful things on there. And one of them is hers. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to friend her on LinkedIn and just let her know, your story was inspiring, and I voiced your thing. And she friended me back, and she told me that when she listened to it, it actually got her emotional. And so that's huge to me, because like, I think if someone was voicing my life, it would take a lot. They'd have to be really damn good if they were gonna make me feel emotional, which means that I did my job. I connected to it. But like, as far as like a sample, like, I mean, I don't know, the one most people probably know me from is like either the Southern New Hampshire University ones, because they were on all the time on on the TV. SNHU, the like across the country with the bus. I did a lot of those. Those are national. And then the Daily Harvest one, which is a little more like sassy, a little kind of like attitudey. And I just did one for Native deodorant, which is kind of like, also a little sassy and stuff. But yeah,
Is there a common theme there with the sassy ones? Are those...
just kind of like rye. They say rye, like a Tina Fey, kind of like, yeah, it's relatable. I think that's what mostly, it's like, Emily hasn't bought groceries in weeks, so why is she creating this masterpiece? It's like that very like, she doesn't go shopping, but it's relatable. I think it's like real and relatable, and kind of like, yeah, we're all imperfect, that kind of thing. So I do like a lot of that too. And I do a lot of the, like, I'm trying to think if I have something here that I'm working on recently, but it's just like that, like, yeah, I don't even know. It's just that very kind of inspirational, empowering, pushing through your demons, like, just kind of like, yeah. And usually there's this gorgeous music and gorgeous footage that the videographer or the filmmaker has created. And that's what the magic is to me. Like, when all these talented people, the person who filmed it, the music, and then you add my voice. I always say, like, the voice is like the frosting on the cupcake. It like finishes it. And when all those things come together in the right way, it's goosebumps. And that is what I specialize in. I always say that I specialize in chills. I specialize in goosebumps.
That's pretty good, I will say, because it's like that chilling, ooh, like, oh, that was deep. That hit me on an emotional, on a spiritual level, even. It transcended just the human experience of like, I can feel that. It's a visceral reaction.
Right.
So I know that's
something. So that's that's what I specialize in, making someone feel something.
Right. Now, which is the one, because I know you did one that was, and I've seen it quite a few times on your website. which we got to plug your website in there. Tell the people what's your website?
So I have one. It's a lot because it's a lot. It's a long story. I have one. I have a website that's just my name, Michelle, www.michellefalanga.com, which has my acting, I'm also a writer, and the voiceover, and they're all on there. So like, if you want to see like all about different things I do, that's the space. But if you click on the voice page, it will direct you to my voice only website, which is just michellefalangavoice.com. So theoretically, you could go to the main one and click the voice and you'll go to the other one. So
You get to, okay.
yeah, I've been asked many times, like, what was your favorite or your biggest client or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honestly, like I've done stuff for national spots for big names, your big Amazon, Microsoft, like big names. But my favorite to this day spot, not even a spot, is I've kind of fell into this again, naturally, just kind of happened. I was reached out to, and then I ended up voicing something. And then I became kind of a go-to voice for this genre, which is drumline, which is like competitions in stadiums. There's like high school ones, there's college ones, there's like professional ones, and they go in these huge stadiums, like a football stadium, and they do drumline, drum corps, it's called. And they create a theme, and then they write music, and then they do choreography, and it's again same thing, like all these things coming together. And then often they will have a voiceover for part of it. And my first one I did was for the Blue Knights, which is pretty well known in that genre, for one of their competitions. I think it either won or it was like second place. I've voiced ones that did end up winning, but again, I'm just this little piece of the puzzle. But they do this amazing, like, this choreography. They do whatever the theme is. This one was about the last seconds before you die, like flashing by you, and all these all that you see and all you feel about your life and gratitude. So it's a very moving monologue. And so my voice came in, but what was cool, it was my first time ever hearing my voice fill a stadium. So that's again the Goosies, right? So it filled the stadium. The music was gorgeous. The choreography was gorgeous. And they had worked for months and months on this choreography and putting the whole piece of the show together for this competition. And so hearing your voice fill the stadium, and then they panned out to like people in the audience, and they were like tearing up because it was an emotional piece. And then even people that had worked so hard, all the drum guys, drum women and men that were in the drum corps troupe, you could see one of them, they went to him, and he was emotional. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. I want to make people feel like I want to be part of that, right? I want to be part of inspiring, empowering, making people think about gratitude, think about their life, think about, just go deep, right? And so I don't think that thing did not pay much at all. It was not like a high profile thing or anything like that. But I would say that in my heart, that's probably still my favorite project I ever did.
I'd always heard your entire life flashes in front of your eyes the second before you die. She reigns with magnificent beauty, protecting those in need. And all that dare to challenge her feel the wrath of the wild blue orchid. And then I remembered to relax and stop trying to hold on.
By the cracks of the skin, I climb to the top.
Then it flows through me like rain.
When the dust came around to blow me down,
And I can't feel anything but gratitude for every single moment.
I climbed the tree to see the world.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
This is a place where I don't belong.
But don't worry, you will someday.
Today.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been through a lot of pretty traumatic things in my life, and I like to believe that those things have made me uniquely able to connect very quickly to stories and storytelling and doing what I do, voiceover. And a lot of people in voiceover, they have to really work at trying to connect to a script. At least for the ones that are like the empowering or the pushing through, I don't have to dig very deep. It's very raw for me. Sometimes that I even get like emotional, even like almost in tears in the booth, you know, which is like, because it's that at the surface for me. Because and I always say this, I love this, where it's like a beautiful painting isn't just pink and yellow, it's also deep purple and gray, and you know, like all of these things make you who you are. And I think because of being through a lot of the things I've been through, having been through a lot of darkness allows me to really just kind of be a richer, I don't know, more connected actor, voiceover writer, whatever it is that I'm trying to you know, it brings that creativity out. I've been through a lot of things. I've been through some pretty weird things that most people, or a lot of people, I know everybody has things, but like I feel like I've been through like a lot of weird stuff, like that's not super normal in one person's life. Like I had a friend who was killed in a car accident. Her parents lived far away, so I had to ID her at the morgue. I remember this like multiple years in a row were like trauma, trauma, trauma. That was like in 1998, and then 99, in the middle of the night, our house burned down. We lost everything in a fire, got out in our pajamas, had to start over. Like to this day, like I'll smell like smoke, and it's like the PTSD is still like, it's all part of me, right? It's just like, okay, like what is it like to literally be like lifted out of everything, you know, everything all your photo albums, your history, every piece of clothing that's comfortable, like you own nothing. Like I literally came out with and got a toothbrush from the Red Cross. I didn't even have shoes, like underwear, nothing. Like start over as just, so what is that like to just be you? All you own is you, you know. It's a kind of a weird experience, right? um and then in 2000, so it was like literally one after the other. And in 2000, at 30 years old, I went in to have like my eyes looked at because I was having this weird strobe. And they said, you know, we need to bring you right in for a major surgery, or you're going to go blind. You know, you have a full retinal detachment. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even wear glasses. Like, what? You know, and so that happened. And then like the next year, I actually witnessed a horrific accident of this woman's ripped in half, like her an 18-wheeler hit her, and her upper body was gone. So I just saw like like things you see in like wartime, right? Her house burning down, like witnessing that kind of accident, seeing my friend, you know, after her accident. Like it was just like one after the other. And then like a few days later after that, my other eye had a tear, and I've had like 8 retina surgeries since then, including a really big one in right when I got laid off. I still am like, I wonder about, I mean, yeah, there's a genetic component, but I do wonder about, you know, the mind, body, the traumas and stuff. Like,
Sure.
yeah. So I try to understand all that, because I don't want to be like, I'm afraid to look at anything. Like, I don't want to see roadkill. I don't want to like have my eye tear because I saw like a dead mouse or something, you
I don't
know.
know. Those Emmys are pretty shiny over there. I don't know.
I know, right? It's just like, what? So anyway, a lot of things. And then I've had like 3 majorly traumatic falls, like dramatic. Like I don't search for drama, but drama finds me. Like I'm not that girl. Like I try to keep my life pretty safe. But like I remember at Boston University performing in front of 300 people in the middle of my thing, it was so dark in the edge of the stage, and I fell off the stage and broke my arm and leg. And they lifted me up. I finished the song, and then I was rushed to the ER.
Wow.
And like that took like 2 years with frozen shoulder and like pain. And then I fell again, another traumatic fall, and that took 2 years the other side. Like it's just like I've had a lot of wonky things, right? And through all this, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to live my life, I'm trying to be, you know. And then the surgery on my eye, ever since 2013, I've had a strobe in my vision that never stops. So like every day, so like you look at me and I look fairly normal, but literally every day when I wake up and I open my eyes, it's stressful because I have to look through a strobe that never stops, hundreds of floaters, and I have to be watching those. Has anything changed? Do I have to get seen? Because I've had 8 surgeries, you know, and tears. And so it's like an ongoing, it's never, I always say, like, I can never exhale. Like, I can never just be like, okay, I'm good. You know, most people, they might have something, they break a leg and then it heals or whatever, and they can move forward. Like for me, this is going to be for the rest of my life. I have to manage this. And I know there's other people that have those sorts of things. And so it's like a constant, you can never I always say like you can never just be like carefree, I guess is
Sure.
the word. So I don't know what that feels like, to
Yeah,
never
but
worry.
you know what though? Carefree is a concept I think we all love to, ideally that's what we want. But what it sounds like is you've taken this, whether subconsciously or consciously, and you've taken this trauma, and that's where you pull from. That's where you mentioned not having to dig deep. It's because it's right there at the surface. This is your this is now your what looked like a negative outcome became your superpower. I mean, this is how you're able to captivate audiences and motivate people and inspire, because you're drawing from this really traumatic experience that happened, experiences plural, and really being able to take that and to turn it into something that can actually help others. So, I'm a big believer of, you'll never be given anything you can't handle. And, obviously you can handle it.
I have that conversation with God all the time. I'm like, I feel like you think I can handle this, but maybe you're not correct on that. Like I feel
Right.
like I don't know. Like, and I do like from my faith, I do like to believe, I do believe God makes bad things that happen for good. Like he can pull the good out of them.
Yeah.
And that's where I try to like believe, like, would I go through all these things again? No. But knowing like, okay, there's good that happened. I mean, even just like I wrote that children's book that came out of like just seeing darkness and things, like just different like things in my life. I've created something out of it, or being able to do the voiceover career and have that connection and be like, I like to believe that, or I need to believe maybe that those experiences have colored me in such a way that now I can then create something or add to something that will be heard by somebody else. And because it's so connected, it will make them feel inspired. It will make them feel empowered. It will touch them in some way that they need to hear
Yeah.
that message, right? Something like that. Just like those people on the boat show who said, bringing that joy of like the comedy was like a release for them, a carefree night in the midst of all these crazy things going on in all their lives. Being able to give that to somebody like gives you so much more back,
Right. And I think that's so important as as a society not to forget that, because the value of the arts, I mean, especially right now, let's face it, we're in 2021. We are in the midst of a pandemic where things are looking better. We've got the vaccine going in arms, and it's looking like we're moving in a positive direction. But, let's face it, people spent a lot of time at home, and people have gravitated towards TV and comedy and YouTube. And what would we have done if we didn't have those things? I mean, the
Yeah, and
arts are really what kept us sane. That's what kept their society afloat, because we were able to have that little moment of relief from the real world, and we can transport ourselves into this alternate reality, which is what you do with your, in being a performing artist. And for a second, we can forget about the issues of today.
yeah. Yeah, I always think of like I think about Broadway being closed and all the, amazing performers and all my actor friends who I've performed with. I mean, I kind of luckily had morphed over to more of voiceover than the acting. But a lot of my friends who I've performed with for years, the acting was all they did. So that was just gone, right? All they did was in-person stuff. And I have friends who like, who do like historical women and who do like, they do these one woman shows and they do these amazing things in schools and in nursing homes and all this stuff, and so talented, and all that was gone. And so they had to pivot and stuff. But I also think of like all those people, those singers, all the Broadway performers, all those people that have been out of work all year. And like, to me, those are the people that are the lights of this world, right? Those are not that, I mean, everybody has a light, but those people are the lights. I mean, gosh, music and like theater and all that stuff is that's what life is, right? Like, life can be boring or whatever, but those are the things that bring the magic into life, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, to think that those magicians are seated and they can't work is like heart-wrenching, Yeah.
And we just have to keep that in focus, because especially nowadays, today's day and age, instant gratification, the age of Zoom calls, and we forget sometimes the importance of the arts, because it becomes just part of the background and it blends in, and we forget just how important it is. So that's one of the things that as a society, I hope we never forget and lose touch, because at one point in time, we all worked, hunters and gatherers. You roamed the plains, and you found your food, and you prepared it, and then you did wash, rinse, and repeat the next day. And it was only until we developed society and and communities and job specialization that we were able to enjoy some of the finer things. And if you think about it, the Renaissance period, these are the periods that have really advanced us as a society, when art when art was just the forefront in our society as science, and having those two be intertwined in a way that kind of creates a better overall experience for us all. So I know we're coming to the end of our time here, but what I do want to ask you, and I think something that you're more suited than anyone to answer, is, how can people, especially nowadays in today's day and age, where we're emerging back into a society, we're starting to open back up, we're starting to get back to this quote unquote normal, which of course will never be the same as it was before, because time marches on. But how can others leverage either past traumas or maybe even successes that they've had to be a little bit more like you, and use those things as fuel to better the lives of others around them?
I mean, I feel like, and again, I'm just kind of coming to these things myself too. It's like you're already going through it. You're already having these things that already happened. So, whether or not you have a faith, for me, it comes from my faith, but whether or not you have, that peace, just like at the simplest level, you're already going through it. You already have had it happen or whatever, or you're already, have this darkness or whatever that's happened to you. Like, wouldn't it give it more value? Wouldn't it be like, give it more like it wasn't in vain or whatever, if you could then I think about my friend. I have a friend who has like ADHD, like severe, and he says he looks at, and again, it's all about shifting your perspective, right? He says he looks at it not as like something that's against him, but as his superpower, right? As his, okay, I think differently than others, therefore I can do different things than others. I can bring to the table a different way to do things that is going to be magical. Like, if you can like flip the switch on, like, okay, I've had these things, how can I use them for good, right? Because we can use everything we have, whatever that is, for good or for bad, right?
Mhm.
What is it gonna get, like, how I always think about this, like, I love Wayne Dyer, and this is one of my favorite quotes. Wisdom
Wisdom.
is avoiding all thoughts that weaken you, right?
Ooh.
I love that. So think of it like this. Is the way you're thinking about it now adding to your life, like giving you good things in your life, or is it stealing from your life? Is it stealing from your time? Is it stealing, like, and I struggle with this all the time. Like, when I start going down the dark road, oh my God, I'm going to be blind, like all these things. I'm like, okay, is this thought adding to my life or stealing from my life? And then you start to get kind of mad because you're like, I'm stealing from, I'm my own person. I'm my own worst. I'm my thief. Like, I'm stealing from my life with these thoughts. Right. And it's not easy, and you got to kind of like work on it all the time. But if you can like be like, if you literally ask yourself that question whenever you have those dark thoughts or whatever, you know the answer, like, right. Right away, this is stealing from my life, or adding to my life. The same with people. Is this person that's causing me all this drama, is she or he adding to my life or taking from my life? Maybe I need to step away from that person. This job, this situation, this whatever I'm doing in my life. And if you ask those two basic questions, and also like, is this thought in fear or in love? That's another one I ask a lot of times. Am I making this decision out of fear or out of love? And again, that'll give you another, and you know right away, like, you just know. And so if you can more often than not choose the love, choose the adding to my life, you know, and just kind of flip the switch on the way you think about your, whatever that is, your trauma, your disability, or whatever that's going on with you. And for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I deal with some people, like, I would have jumped off a bridge by now. I could not deal with that strobe in my head. I can't even deal with one little thing. And I'm like, I feel like I juggle a lot just to get up in the morning, let alone work, be present, be talking to a friend, like all those things, and live life. But like, won't I be mad? What if in a week I do go, I don't want to even say it, I'd lose my vision, right? Won't I be really mad that I didn't spend this whole week living life? And it's really about being present. Like, my husband and I were talking about this the other day. He's like, tomorrow is not like, you saw that, I don't know, in the news, they showed that plane came down and like hit that car like head on.
No,
It's
I
like
didn't see.
literally like you're just driving along and like a plane went right into the car. Like you're just like, you don't know like what
Yeah,
tomorrow is, right? So like, and that's really hard to do, but like, stop living in the past, stop living in the future. You only have right now. Right now, this conversation with Jay, that is all I have. I
mhm.
could, I don't know. I have no idea what tomorrow brings. So I'm trying really hard to just be present and alive and like in that moment and really live it, whatever that means. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. That is just that's beautifully said, and as I would expect from you. And it's, just to add a little texture to that, I think it's increasingly difficult to do that and to live in the present, because nowadays we have every day there's seemingly something else that comes along that is aiming to rob our attention from us, whether it's social media or now there's this whole TikTok thing, right? And there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook, and there's messages, and there's all of these things that are looking to take our eyes and our attention. And it's tougher than ever to just decide. But again, like you said, it's an intentional thing that you have to do. You have to decide, this is what I want, and I want to be able to live in the present moment, because like you said, tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Well, also, like, I think about like fear. Like, there's so much fear. You watch the news, right? It's all fear. And it's like, and there's so much out there, and there's so many, like, you got to do this. It's like so much, right? And fear is like a big thing for me. And I like to also think of it as like a hockey thing, like your goal, like you're the goalie, right? And you need to protect your spirit, your heart, your soul. You got to protect yourself. So it's like, you know what? I need to like have my hockey stick out there, and like, no, I'm not letting that. Maybe I'm not watching the news tonight. Maybe I'm not allowing myself to go down a rabbit hole of like this like political post or something, because it's not adding to my life. It's stealing from my life, right? You're your goal post. Like you're the goalie, and you got to keep that puck out of there, You're protecting your precious you, which is
Yeah.
so important.
100%. No wonder I'm not doing a great job. I've never been good with hockey, so I think that might be the problem. As my takeaway is, start taking hockey lessons.
I'm terrified of ice skates. I'm like, why would you make a blade on an ice? Like, that's just like asking for trouble. I'm a faller,
Right? Yeah.
on like blades on ice. Like, that's just bad enough with feet on ice. Like, I don't need any, I don't need to be on a blade. Like, who designed that?
Right. Some guy.
Some idiot.
Uh,
Like,
uh,
really?
well, thank you so much, Michelle. This has been Michelle Falanga. I will be. I'll share her links to her social media and website. Definitely somebody that is very inspirational to me, and I've been looking forward to bringing you on the show. Man, this was great. So thank you so much for coming on, and look forward to bringing you back to drop some more tidbits of knowledge on everybody.
Thank you for having me, Jay.